Tonight, a $100 million mining partnership welcomed and one of the final steps taken before drilling begins in the Great Australian Bight.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. The Chamber of Mines and Energy is welcoming the partnership between Havilah and GTG Alliance. CEO Rebecca Knowles says the deal is a great example of small and big miners working together.
Sealed with the stroke of a pen, 2 companies partnering together.
We've explored and found things, copper, iron ore, and this is a great day because this potentially allows us to exploit these deposits.
It's a dream coming true a step at a time. Is definitely a big important part of the jigsaw.
This $100 million deal celebrated by both companies. It will see GFG provide financial and logistical support and a feasibility study into the Grants and Maldorkey iron ore deposits near Broken Hill. If viable, GFG will become a customer, using the iron ore to feed its proposed 10 million tonne new high-tech steel plant. Many attending including opposition leader Bill Shorten.
Very impressive. Very exciting. Thank you.
The Chamber of Mines and Energy CEO says it's significant for GFG Alliance to partner with a smaller mining business such as Havilah, as it will facilitate a future for copper and iron ore in South Australia.
Delightful to see them partnering with a company like GFG to bring a project potentially to the benefit of all South Australians.
It's still early days when Mr Gupta's focus on the new steelwork rolling mill, which is due to begin construction within the next 12 months. Havilah's feasibility study is still years away from completion. Mr Gupta says it's still a significant moment for the Whyalla community and also the international mining industry.
It's going to be international significance, not just national significance. Whyalla will prove to be, as I said in December, will prove to be a diamond in the rough.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Norwegian energy company Equinor has submitted its environmental plan to the regulator NOPSEMA. It's the final step needed before the company can start drilling for oil in the Great Australian Bight, but it is still receiving a significant amount of backlash. Nathan Regter has the story.
After almost 3 months since its announcement, Equinor has submitted its environment plan to the national regulator, the company using 13 of the 30,000 public submissions to implement changes to its plans. In a statement to Spencer Gulf News, Equinor says every entry was reviewed. Many of them were not relevant to the process as defined by the regulator, with some spam or fundamental objections to those operations. The news comes after protesters around the nation took to the water in a paddle out last month, including the Spencer Gulf, Melbourne and even Tasmania. Thousands voicing their concerns over the environmental impacts a potential spill could have, with map modelling showing oil could reach as far as New South Wales. The company sticking to its guns, saying after 2 years of planning and consultation, drilling can be done safely. Once approved by the regulator, Equinor plans to start drilling as soon as next year, making it the 14th exploration project to drill in the Great Australian Bight.
Local government leaders from across the country have travelled to the Upper Spencer Gulf to witness the region's transition into a renewable energy hub. The group touching down in Port Augusta today to learn its energy story.
They've travelled from New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania and even Western Australia to step foot on the renewable capital of the country.
I think Port Augusta is very well recognised around the country as being at the cutting edge of where the whole country needs to go.
Organised by the Climate Council, over 20 representatives from local governments across Australia visiting the projects which have made the region synonymous as a leader in renewable energy.
People have thought that these sites are fantastic, looking at the large-scale solar, large wind. Tomorrow we're going to see a large battery.
The group eager to learn how they can use the town's transition from coal to clean energy as a blueprint for change in their own districts.
How to attract investment to a regional area that is going to support a whole range of different renewable energy projects.
Look, it's just so possible. The solutions are here today.
Joining the trip is former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill. But although renewable energy is a strong issue for all party lines on the federal level, particularly during the election campaign currently underway, today there was no political agenda. And despite the recent collapse of the government-backed solar thermal project, Mr Weatherill says the town can still be at the forefront of the fight against climate change.
Port Augusta has demonstrated that they can actually turn this threat into an opportunity with the jobs and technologies of the future.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
SA Health is urging people to remain vigilant after a meningococcal outbreak, with a 30-year-old woman in regional South Australia diagnosed with the B strain on Tuesday. She is now in a stable condition after being admitted to hospital. This diagnosis brings the state's meningococcal case total to 5 people, compared with 8 recorded this time last year. Signs include fever, vomiting, drowsiness, joint pain in the neck and back, and a rash on the body. And with flu season nearly upon us, we're also being reminded to get vaccinated. The immediate future of Port Augusta's CitySafe services has been secured, with the council last night voting to extend the program's contract. The deal will see the service remain in town until the end of 2020, but some say it should be even longer.
It's taken 5 months of numerous informal gatherings, meetings and special meetings, but the future of the CitySafe program has now been settled.
And finally the council has made a resolution.
The elected body last night voting to extend the deal until October, before a 12-month contract will then go out to tender.
So the tendering will go through the LGA process, so that 3-month period is when that will occur, and once the tender's placed and won, then the 12-month fixed contract will start.
The CitySafe program is employed by council to manage antisocial behaviour in Port Augusta. The local government will allocate funds in this year's budget to bankroll the service for another year, but are adamant they won't cough up any more funding after 2020.
We are aware of other agencies utilising the service. We need them to fund it.
It's aiming to lobby federal and state governments for financial assistance.
Pressing point I will be going for is a working party to be formed and commence that immediately and get that happening and start the discussion straight away.
Business Port Augusta has applauded the decision, but says its members are concerned what will happen following the end of the 12-month contract.
Reality is the great unknown is still what is creating a lot of angst amongst their members.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, thieves targeting businesses online, last year costing Australians almost $500 million. And bikies banding together to support children living with a disability. Welcome back. Port Lincoln residents have attended a public forum aimed at educating people on how to be safe online. It comes after several local businesses reported losing thousands of dollars to online scams.
They're brazen and targeting us like never before.
It's a growing epidemic. It's massive, it's increasing, and we all have to be careful.
Australians losing nearly $500 million to online scammers in 2018. That's nearly a 50% increase from the previous year.
We're being pushed online, so the personal interchange between a business and a customer is disappearing at the shop front, and so we're all going online.
Scammers using this opportunity to pretend to be Australian businesses and telecommunication agencies. One Port Lincoln business nearly losing $15,000 to a scammer pretending to be from the Australian Taxation Office.
The business owner thought very quickly and contacted his tax agent and then contacted the bank. We were able to stop that payment before it left his account.
The Australian cybercrime regulator says they received a 900% increase in ATO scams from previous years. Tim says thieves are getting more creative with manipulation and viruses.
One of those viruses is a Trojan virus, which runs as a keystroke. It can log the different keys you're pressing on your computer and through that track passwords or access codes that you're using.
For more information, visit the ScamWatch website. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The first stage of consultation for the new Whyalla High School has begun. Students from across the city met architects this morning to have their say on the multi-million-dollar project.
The opening of the new Whyalla High School is 3 years away, but planning begins here today. 40 students from years 6 to 12 gathering at Whyalla Town Primary School to have their say.
I think it's always great to give kids a voice, particularly on something as significant change as this project.
A number of different activities held to get the students' minds ticking. There were group discussions and visual presentations, while students also created wish lists for what they want.
The spaces that they occupy, the things that don't work well for them at the moment, or things that do work well.
And the ideas kept flowing.
It'd be good if it was kind of like modern, fresh, kind of colourful, but also like sustainable.
It should be really a healthy environment for everyone.
We talked about like, well, what's your most creative place?
Mr. Rossi amazed at the level of engagement from the students. He says they came to the meeting with a clear idea of what they want from the new space.
They have a very good perception of what's going on around them and what actually helps them learn.
John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A group of bikies have been busy raising money to support children at Port Perry's Mid-North Education Centre. South Australia's biker clubs teaming up at Gladstone's old jail so children living with a disability can enjoy a liberty swing.
Draped in leather and denim, these bikers are breaking down stigmas and proudly standing up for those in need. 60 riders from 7 different clubs visiting the Gladstone jail to raise money for a good cause.
I saw a photo of it, I spoke to the fellas in concern, and from there we put this up.
The event raising $1,630 to help the Mid-North Education Centre purchase a Liberty swing for their playground. It's a piece of equipment designed especially for children living with a disability.
Roughly about halfway, and the totals of like $40,000 or something, so we're on a really good footing to finish it off and go well with it, yeah.
Grump is one of the leaders, and he says despite misconceptions, bikies support many projects in the wider community.
Motorcyclists have always got their finger into something. They've got toy runs, they've got all sorts of rides on. We do a lot for the community, but a lot of times we're not recognised for what we actually do.
The old jail, Grump says, an interesting place for this group to gather.
There's that much history in the jail itself. People like us can identify with it, and we're coming to jail to enjoy ourselves, not get locked up.
Members of the Lion Club grateful for the generous contribution and happy to see such large-scale participation for an important cause.
It's pretty heartening to see these guys put together and have a bit of a show and raise some money for something well worthwhile.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Find out why horse owners are struggling in the Mid-North. And Brit's back. She'll join us with the weather details. Hello again. Horse owners in the Mid-North are just some of the victims suffering from this year's drought. Many owners say they're struggling to afford to pay for hay due to a nationwide feed shortage.
A desperate call to save the ones they love. Horse owners in the Mid-North have been doing it tough, struggling to pay for and find adequate feed for their riding companions, with the price of hay more than doubling in recent times.
It's very hard to get. We see a lot of truckloads going through to other states, and we're not getting any of that come to a lot of people here.
These women say they are the forgotten victims in the drought, worsened by what they say is a lack of support coming their way.
Sellers are rationing it as well, and you can't pre-order. So yeah, there is a shortage. We're struggling now.
For pensioner Kate Heelan, the struggle to feed her best friend Harry has been heartbreaking. Her horse has been a pillar of support since she tragically lost her husband to cancer.
It's 2 years ago. So he makes me do things, and he's there for me. When I'm down, I go riding.
This is our sanity, and it's not fair that we should have to give them up, which is what we are going to have to do.
For these horse lovers, the rains have arrived too late and will not make an impact on current market prices. A devastating time for all, with these women waiting nervously for prices to fall. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Now let's take a look at which fish are biting around the region.
The weather's changed, don't you just love it? It means the cold weather brings out our squid, so we've got plenty of squid to be happening around the place. We've looked around at some of the other species that are still coming along over the Easter period and continuing through are yellowfin whiting in big numbers. So if you get along the Talawi Beach area, it might be your last chance to get them. But don't be despaired, they only move a little bit further south, so you might be able to follow them and fish at Port Broughton and find yourself a catch of that particular thing. We've seen some nice little pan-sized snapper floating around, and you'd be surprised they're on the council wrecks area. So work those, check your tides, make sure that you're on that incoming, and you should work really well.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jaw of the North.
Well, it's pretty good to be standing on a bit of wet ground at the moment, about 10 mils of rain, so that probably should help the fish out as well. King George whiting getting caught, some smaller ones in amongst them, so just check the sizes there. Lots of salmon around up in Port Patterson, also down to Chinaman's Creeks through the creeks. And a bit of a sad occasion down here on the west side foreshore. Old Mrs. Jarenberg passed away. She's been down here forever and a day, so our hearts go out to the family and friends. That's all we have from the Drill of the North.
High Whalers fishing report this week for the boat anglers. There's still some nice squid running down towards the Mount Young grounds. Also in the same area there's been some nice King George whiting. For the land-based anglers out towards Point Lowly, things certainly have heated up. There's some nice schools of salmon running along the rocky points there, and also some nice sized yellowtail kingfish around the 60 to 70 centimetre mark have been caught along the rocks there. A little bit further around north of Whyalla towards Becky Point, there's been some nice schools of salmon trout also coming off the rocks there.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, locally there's been some nice salmon trout and some tommies caught off the main wharf here in town, and also a few squid from the town jetty and also up at Louth Bay jetty as well. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been some nice whiting caught within the bay system lately, especially towards the oyster racks, and also a few salmon trout and trevally in that area too. There's been some really nice garfish throughout the bay system at Coffins as well. Whiting continue to bite pretty well out around Farm Beach, and there has been some nice gummy sharks caught in that area as well over the past week. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more fishing tips next week.
Now to the region's weather with Britt Aylen. And Britt, the showers are continuing.
That's right, Louise. Tomorrow we'll see more showers over Port Lincoln and the Lower Eyre Peninsula, and I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. But first to today, with Port Augusta, Whyalla and Port Pirie all reaching a top of 20 degrees. Broken Hill saw rain with a top of 19, Port Lincoln 18 and Adelaide 17. Looking to the satellite now, with a complex low developing southwest of Kangaroo Island, generating showers and isolated thunderstorms over much of South Australia. Tomorrow that low will weaken and contract to the southeast. On the waters, northwesterly winds at up to 30 knots with seas at 3 metres. The sun will rise just after 7 tomorrow morning, with sunset just before 5:45. Port Augusta tomorrow, partly cloudy with a top of 22. Whyalla fine and 22. Port Lincoln with showers through the day and a top of 20 degrees. Coffin Bay showers and wind with a possible thunderstorm, 17 the top. Woodner 19, Corn 22. Broken Hill sunny and 19. Port Pirie 21. Clare a possible shower with a top of 17. Cleve 18 degrees. Kadina showers and 20. Adelaide 24. And it's looking like we'll see mostly fine conditions through the weekend. Port Lincoln with a top of 19 on Saturday, Sunday 20 degrees. Much the same for Cleve, Woodner with tops in the early 20s. Whyalla looking partly cloudy, 19 on Saturday, Sunday 20. Port Augusta fine on Saturday, Sunday sunny and 23. Kadina with tops sitting in the early 20s, looking sunny into next week. Port Pirie 21 on Saturday, sunny and 22 on Sunday. Clare with maximums in the late teens across the weekend. Broken Hill with tops of 18, looking mostly sunny. And that's it from me, Louise. I'll be back later tonight with an update.
Thanks for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Thursday. From all of the team here, thanks for watching. We'll see you later on with updates. Until then, have a lovely evening. Good night.